What's up, guys? So as most of you know, it is March Madness season, and got this idea from Leif Fielden to fill out a bracket. I'm pretty bored, and I don't know what else to do, so I'm going to do this. So like Leif said, I don't consider myself the basketball guru, but I have been following basketball pretty close this season as I have no life, and this is all I can do. So, just thought I'd let you guys know I filled out a lot of already the first part of the bracket just because there's a lot of games and I don't want to waste your guys' time, but some games I highlighted and go through and fill those out. So first round, well, what we call the second round now with the play-in games. Game I highlighted in the first round, Iowa State-UConn, I think is going to be a really interesting matchup. Obviously it's 8-9. UConn has previous experience going to win it all last year as a really low seed, but they lost Kemba and I can't see them doing much this year. And Iowa State's been really good of late, so I got ISU. Iowa State winning that game. Next we have Wichita State VCU, 5-12 game. I have VCU getting the upset in this game. They obviously went to the Final Four last year as a play-in game, and I think Shaka Smart, the coach, has a lot of experience. And honestly, I haven't watched much of Wichita State this year, but I don't think they can handle the experience that VCU has, so I have VCU winning that game. Next, Indiana, New Mexico State. I have Indiana. Zeller down in the post is a beast. And Indiana's pulled some crazy upsets this year, and I think they'll go away with the win there. UNLV, Colorado, I think is a really interesting game. As much as I love the Pac-12 and East Coast bias pisses me off and I want Colorado to win, I'll probably be rooting for Colorado. UNLV has just been amazing of late. They have really good low-post presence, and I have to go with UNLV in that game. Again, I have Notre Dame over Xavier later in that bracket. Just think that'll be an interesting game as well. Memphis-St. Louis is a really good game. St. Louis knocked off UW, obviously, as most Washington people know, by 20-plus earlier in the year, and they were hot and early in the year, but they've been struggling a lot lately, and that's why they dropped down to the 9 seed. And Memphis has always been a good program, and they have brought back like 3 starters from last year, so I had Memphis winning that game. Louisville-Davidson. Everyone that I've talked to says that's going to be a lock for Louisville to win that game, but my boy Steph Curry, who plays for the Warriors now, came from Davidson, and Davidson has been crazy good this year. They have like a 7-game win streak at one point in this year. I do have Louisville pulling off the win, but if anyone wants to add some surprise to their bracket, Davidson can easily pull off that upset, and no one's going to see it coming, so watch Davidson. Down at the bottom of the bracket, I have Florida, Virginia. Virginia's coach, Tony Bennett, who came from the Cougs, has been really good this year. But I'm a Gator, and I think the Gators have a lot of talent. And Donovan's doing really good things there, so I have to go with Florida. Over here on the east side of the bracket, Kansas State Southern Miss is going to be a crazy good game, 8-9. Southern Miss is one of those mid-major teams that has just shocked everyone this year, and I think they could do a lot. But Kansas State has been dominant, and they've played some good opponents, and I think they have more experience, so I have to go with Kansas State in that game. Vanderbilt-Harvard is a game I think a lot of people have been predicting this. Doug Gottlieb predicted this. And I do have Harvard getting the win in this game. 2 years ago, I think, Cornell from the Ivy League pulled off some crazy upsets, ended up in the Sweet 16. And a lot of people have been talking up Harvard this year. And, of course, Jeremy Lin is going to be rooting them on. And I think Harvard can pull off the upset. Vanderbilt hasn't done much this year. I think they only have 1 or 2 top 50 wins, and they have not been impressive. Next game, I have circled Wisconsin-Montana. I think Montana has been very good this year. Wisconsin lives and dies by the 3. All of their games are around the 3-point range, and Montana has some sticky D. I think Montana's going to pull off that win. Shout out to Kevin Henderson from Montana. Graduate from AHS, and I think Montana's going to pull out that W upset there. Another game I've circled, Zaga, West Virginia. As I love my Zags, I root for them anytime I can. I honestly think West Virginia is going to get the upset. Zaga's just been very weak of lately. West Virginia out of the Big East has been heating up a lot. I think they got shafted with the 10 seed. I think Zaga got lucky with the 7 seed. And as much as I love the Zags, I think West Virginia is going to pull off that win. One of the upsets I have is Cal over South Florida in the play-in game, and then Cal as a 12 seed upsetting Temple as a 5 seed. Like I said, I love the Pac-12, and Cal has been vastly underrated this year. They started off ranked, lost like 1 bad game, and just dropped off the rankings. And I think Cal is really good this year. Knocked off a lot of good Pac teams. Knocked off UW. Knocked off Colorado, who's in the tourney as well. And I think Cal can make some waves. Creighton, Alabama, right above that, the 8-9 game. Creighton, Doug McDermott could be the player of the year this year. And I like Creighton over Bama in that game. Final game I have in the regular season circled is Georgetown Belmont as a 3 seed. What's up, Chris?
What are you doing?
I got your Aztecs going on bracket. What do you think about the Aztecs as a 6
What's the
seed?
score?
Twitter. My Twitter followers.
Well, let me get a bracket. I'll fill out one too.
No, they don't want to know.
Alright, keep going.
You're not the smartest. But my brother will be going to San Diego State next year, and I got them going pretty far. But Georgetown Belmont, don't be surprised if that's an upset. I do have G-Town winning that game, but Belmont's been dominant all season. So if you want to make some waves in your bracket, that would be a safe pick. All right, to the third round, or the second round, or fourth round, as it will be called this year. I got Kentucky ISU. I got UK pulling off that win. They're just too dominant. VCU Indiana. Don't forget Zeller. I got Indiana going deep in this tournament. At the bottom of that bracket, Notre Dame Duke, I think is going to be a really good game. I really wanted to pick Notre Dame, but I think Duke is just too dominant, and Duke will pull off that win. Later in the bracket, Louisville, New Mexico. I actually had New Mexico pulling this upset. New Mexico beating a really good Long Beach State team in the beginning of the bracket. I think New Mexico got shafted as a 5 seed. They were really good this year, pulled out some great wins. Beat Wazoo, my Cougs, earlier in the year, and have been watching them ever since then, and they were really dominant. So if you want to make some waves, there you go. At the bottom of the bracket, Florida-Mizzou, I think is going to be a really good game. I think Mizzou is going to get that win, though. They're just a really dominant team, and the Gators have not been solid this year as much as I love them. So I've got Mizzou advancing there. Harvard and Montana, I had this circle in my bracket. 12-13 game, I think is going to be extremely, extremely interesting. 2 mid-major teams, obviously, that have not been much on the radar this year, but I'm going to have to go with Harvard. Like I said, Cornell 3 years ago, the Ivy League just seems to dominate when they make it this far. And Harvard's probably the most solid team they've had since the early 40s when I think they won it all. I went to the championship game. So I got Harvard winning that game. Next game under that, I have Florida State beating Cincy. Florida State's been pretty good. Obviously, they knocked off NC twice this year. I think they beat Duke as well. And Florida State's got a pretty solid post down low, so I can see them making waves. NC Creighton will be an interesting game with Doug McDermott, possible player of the year. But I have NC winning that game. NC just too much depth, 4 or 5 possible NBA draft players, and that's just too much of a good game. And then SDSU Georgetown, like I said, Georgetown could be getting the upset in the first round. Belmont's been dominant. Georgetown got upset last year. I do have the Aztecs advancing that game. Aztecs have experience in the tourney, and Georgetown does not. They got knocked off early last year. Xavier Thames, who came from the Cougs, who my brother will be meeting up with. Leading San Diego State at point, so I have San Diego State advancing there. On to the Sweet 16. I have Indiana upsetting Kentucky. I know a lot of you are going to get upset with that. I'm not high on Kentucky. They're an overall number 1 seed, and they have not done anything to impress me other than just have a lot of black talent on their team, but they do not play as a team, and I do not like them. And Indiana, Zeller in the post has been crazy good this year, averaging like 2-3 blocks a game. Really good player. I have them advancing there. I have Baylor advancing over Duke to the Sweet 16. Rather the Elite 8, sorry, not the Sweet 16. I have Baylor advancing to the Elite 8 in Indiana as well. Baylor's been really solid. They've impressed me this year. Perry Jones III could be a potential lottery pick, and he's really good. I think he can lead them to an upset over Duke. I have Michigan State advancing over New Mexico into the Elite 8. They're just a solid. They got lucky with the 1 seed, but they're a solid team. They lost early on the aircraft carrier game this year, but Michigan State's just been solid. Izzo is a solid coach. He always gets MSU to make waves. I have Marquette advancing over Missouri to the Elite 8. Marquette's been a solid team. I think they got shafted with the 3 seed. They've been top team this entire year, and I think Marquette can make some waves. I have Syracuse advancing over Harvard. Syracuse, I've always loved them, and they've been a solid squad this year. Second best record in the nation, top 2 or 3 the entire year, and I don't think they're going to disappoint. I have Florida State advancing over Ohio State. Solinger has not proven himself in the tourney. He's going to be a great athlete, but I'm just not very high on Solinger. I think he's amazing, but I don't see what else they have around him, and so I'm going to have to go with Florida State on that upset. They've already pulled crazier upsets this year, and I can see them. Another game I have NC advancing over Cal to the Elite 8. As much as I love the Pac-12, NC has been a solid squad. Like I said, 5 or 6 possible lottery picks, and they play really well as a team, and they've been up there the entire year. I have KU advancing over San Diego State in the Elite 8. Kansas has just been a solid team, and they always make waves in the March Madness, and I can't see much change in that this year. I do have Baylor advancing to the Final Four this year in New Orleans. Kind of a little home court advantage for them, not very far. Texas, Louisiana. Indiana's a solid squad, but Baylor's been solid all year. Perry Jones third. One of the best players in the nation. I have Michigan State advancing over Marquette into the Final Four. I'm not hugely high on Michigan State, but like I said, they've been solid all year. Izzo's a solid coach. I have Florida State advancing over Syracuse to the Final Four. Really high in Florida State this year. I think those upsets that they've knocked off this year over some of their opponents have showed that they're a solid squad this year. I do have NC advancing to the Final Four over Kansas. I've already said a lot about NC, not much more to say. And my final game in the Superdome championship game, Baylor Bears advancing. I think Perry Jones III is going to do huge in the NBA. I think he's got a lot to prove, and I think he's going to do it. And I have Baylor facing off against NC, the Tar Heels. Not been a huge Tar Heel fan over the years. Obama has. Obama has always picked them to win it all. I've never been very high on them, but I think they have by far the most talent, and they play very well as a team, is what I've seen this year. And I have winning it all. I have the Baylor Bears as a 3 seed, pulling the upset like UConn last year as the 4 seed. I have Baylor Bears winning it all. So let me know what you guys think. It'd be cool if you guys could post some videos of your own. Let me know what you guys think, and yeah, take care.